Tim talked about the depth and breadth of pain, and I think many of us in our community are carrying that right now after the shootings in Half Moon Bay. That felt very, very close to home for many of us. Of course, this was on top of the shootings at Monterey Park and yesterday's shooting at Beverly Crest in Southern California. And this in a month where we've been dealing with the flooding that displaced some of us from homes and unsettled us. And so we're carrying a lot right now. So I offer this prayer, this moment of silence, and this community that holds all of this. These are the words of George Kimmich Beach. Some days dark tremors sweep across our lives. Troubling events accost us. We have become accustomed to such things. And often we have fenced off our natural sympathies with the thought, this belongs to someone else. But now a crisis of life brushes close to us, touches us, befalls us, and those we love. We want now to know how and what and why. We want an explanation. We know that all of our explanations put together do not finally explain. They but fend off worry, anger, and grief. The mysteries of evil and innocence remain. The darkness of being at a loss remains. And in the abyss of the heart, we can but pray for light. This is when I pray, and this is my prayer. Let me be patient of all these feelings that drive me hither and yon. May I be at peace, more patient with myself. Let me live within the questions that promise no answers, but only signal the mystery that gave them birth. Let me turn from every pettiness of the heart, willing to see and accept that the world does not revolve around me. Let the grief, the pain, and the nameless trouble that overcomes me also open me to feel what others have felt. Giver of being and freedom, unbind my compassion for all beings about me. And again, set free the child of grace within me. I invite you to join me in a moment of silence. Today's theme is the theme for the month's been finding our center. And we often think of finding our center being about finding that place of calm and peace and quiet. I want to kind of explore a different sense of center, like finding our center in preparation for a leap of faith, finding our center in a time of uncertainty, as I think we are in, as I talked about in the prayer earlier. I want to start with a story from the Buddhist tradition. This is a story from a Buddhist monk who was walking through the jungle, and a tiger saw him. And he was scared. So he did like any good person would. He ran away. But the tiger chased him. And he chased him and chased him. And he eventually came to the edge of this cliff. And the tiger was still there, so he started climbing. He grabbed a vine and started climbing down the cliff. But then he looked down. He saw there was another tiger at the bottom of the cliff. This was not a good place to be. And so he thought, oh, what am I going to do? So he's hanging there looking at the tiger below, looking up at the tiger above, and both of them are licking their lips. And then a mouse came out and started chewing in the vine. This is not good. But then he saw this luscious strawberry hanging in the cliff there, so he grabbed it and ate it, and it was delicious. That's the end of the story. Not exactly a Hollywood ending. We want things wrapped up nicely. We want the mouse to magically change into this creature that rescued him, or this benevolent tiger, which basically lets the person go. But that's not the story. It ends there. And of course, as you can well imagine, there's a lot of arguments. Some people just think that's just a terrible story. Some part, the Buddhist traditions say it's a pointer to no matter how much struggles you have in life, enjoy it. Enjoy those moments of a strawberry. And others think that's a ridiculous idea and think that strawberry is a distraction from what you should really be paying attention to is saving your life. As a Unitarian Universalist, I agree with all three of those things. I think they've all got a point. But I think it points to that life is uncertain. I think many of us who watch movies that are non-American, we often get these endings that are kind of ambiguous. And we're like, oh, I feel unsatisfied, and you have to make up your own ending to things. But life is uncertain. Think of those relationships you have in your life, people who you just lose touch with. Not that you fell out with, you just lost touch with them and you really cared for them. Or perhaps you have a problematic relationship and you kind of apologize and you think you've made up, but it doesn't quite feel right. We have a lot of ambiguity, a lot of uncertainty in our life. I want to talk about how do we find our center before a leap of faith? Because a leap of faith is where we jump forward into the unknown. And I ask you, what do you have faith in? Because I would rather have a leap of faith than a leap of doubt. A leap of doubt is a kind of worrying place to go. So a leap of faith, what would that be? I mean, I think sometimes many of us have faith in a God of our understanding. Some of us may have faith in ourselves, like no matter what happens, whatever happens to me, I can handle it. Some of us may have faith in a community that I know there will be people around to help me. People within UUFRC will be around to help me during the difficult time, maybe my family, maybe other friends. Maybe it's faith that just that what you're doing is the right thing to do. Faith is just it's the right thing to do. And I think that's when finding center is not always about finding a place of calm. Because that guy hanging from the vine, I don't think that was a place of calmness. Now maybe when he grabbed that strawberry, it reminded him of the sweetness of life, and he had to fight to keep living because life was worth living. There was joy to be had. Maybe it was a distraction. Maybe you should have been clearing off the mouse away from chewing the vine. But I think what we want to do when we find a place of center is when we're taking that leap of faith, what do we want? What do we need now to be able to take that next step? Take that next step into uncertainty. Because I think that's what centering is. It may be calmness. It may be figuring out the plan. As Eisenhower said, plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. I think that's good. That's a good guide to life. But really figuring out what you want to be doing next. So I think finding our center does not necessarily mean a place of calmness. It may be, maybe you should panic and find another solution. Maybe we don't need to go that path. We can take a step in another direction. These are all parts of finding our center, especially before a leap of faith.